Hello? Whoop, there. Hello? There, oh, wow. That's louder than it's ever been. One, two. Are we ready? Call to order. Ooh. Good morning. My name is Linda DeBlake-Kilman, and I'm the president and a professional member of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. The meeting of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission is hereby called to order. It is 9:04 a.m. on March 17th, 2025. Mr. Bryant, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam President. President DeBlake-Kilman.
Present.
Secretary Hedinga.
Present.
Commissioner Katnack.
Here.
And Commissioner Vasquez. Here. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Also joining and participating in this meeting is Assistant Attorney General Douglas Wilbur with the New Mexico Department of Justice, as well as BCD staff members, Team Manager Jared Bryant, Executive Secretary Pamela Predica, Education Administrator Scott Latham, Compliance and Investigations Team Manager Kathleen Roybal, Compliance Supervisor Andrew Hohola, Compliance Investigator G. Vivar, and Boards and Commissions Deputy Director Amanda Lewis. Today's public meeting is conducted pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Sections 10, 15(1) to 4. Commissioners, staff, and members of the public are joining us in person at the Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There is also a live broadcast of the meeting. Individuals wishing to provide public comment virtually were required to submit a written request to the Commission, email by Friday, March 14th, 2025, or attend in person. The public portions of today's meeting will be recorded. The closed session portions are not public and will not be recorded or viewable by any attendees. Items discussed in the closed session may be voted upon in the general session when the session resumes. Continuing education is granted only for the public portions. When the Commission moves into closed session, the public meeting line will remain open and all attendees will remain muted. Attendees may remain in The New Mexico Real Estate Commission was created by state law in 1959 and charged with enforcing the real estate license law and the Real Estate Commission rules. We will now move to approval of the agenda. Before we move to approve the agenda, I'd like to address a change. We were informed that approximately 13 cases originally scheduled for today will not be heard, but we have not yet received a clear explanation as to why. Given the importance of these cases and the Commission's responsibility to handle them, I believe we need some clarification. So I could ask RLD staff to provide an explanation as to the missing agenda items.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, the reason why these complaints will not be presented today is because they haven't been presented to the complaint committee. So we felt that it would be only fair for the licensees to have a thorough review the same way that the rest of the complaints are reviewed.
But the complaint committee isn't the investigator. So I mean, we've functioned without a complaint committee for a long time.
That is correct. The cases are ready to be presented. Again, we just felt that it would be beneficial to review it with the complaint committee to ensure that we didn't miss anything prior to presenting it to the full commission.
I would suggest that we have a special meeting to go over whether we have a complaint committee or not, because I don't think it's fair for the agenda item complaints that were on there to not be presented, because there's probably people watching that are concerned about their complaint being heard.
Correct. Within the complaint or the compliance report, we have requested that perhaps a special meeting can be held monthly until we get caught up with all of the complaints, and not necessarily a full board meeting, but specifically to review any complaints that are pending.
So that would essentially be a closed session special meeting?
So the meeting would have to be scheduled just like a normal meeting, but it would be more specific to just compliance issues.
But again, if we're talking about adjudicating complaints, it couldn't be an open meeting because complaints are heard in closed session. We're going to have to figure out a leap here to get into operating without a complaint committee. Just pretend we don't have one. Because, I mean, we've never relied on that for very long. That was a new idea to try. But without a complaint committee, I still think the investigators could be presenting cases.
Okay, and I think we were hoping for this meeting to get some clarification on how to proceed. So I agree, and we can definitely do that in the event a complaint committee isn't assigned.
And I think I'll rely on counsel to let us know what he thinks at some point about adjudicating cases that didn't get here because of a lack of a complaint committee. So, Secretary Henniga had do you have a comprehensive list of what we are seeing?
I believe
Okay.
I
Shall we
believe I-
read these into the record? And she can give the secretary a list of the ones that are missing so we can correct the agenda.
All right, I move to remove the following reports of investigation from being heard in the closed session today. The following numbers are 23-02-08-011, REC-2023-00196-COM, REC-2023-00351-COM, REC-2023-00407-COM, REC-2024-00462-COM, REC-2024-00623-COM, REC-2024-00832-COM, REC-2024-01116-COM, REC-2024-01167-COM, REC-2024-01165, REC-2024-00338-COM, REC-2024-00359-COM, and D as in Delta 202 CV-2024-05766.
Madam Chair, if I may, if we can leave 23-02-08-011 on the agenda to be considered during closed session. This was requested of the prosecutor in the matter, and I assumed that the documents were provided to you, but I do have them available so we can review them together. But the rest of them are correct and should be.
Would you just repeat that number again, please?
23-02-08-011.
We have someone that'd like to speak. Do you want to come to the microphone?
Madam Chair, I represent, I'm outside counsel. I would request that the three last item agendas, REC 0038 and REC 359, as well as D202 CV 2024 057666 remain on the agenda. This is pending settlement, and I hear this has been
Mhm. So shall we have some time before the meet, before we go into closed session to? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So I will amend that to leave 23-02-08-011 on the agenda. And I want to make a correction on REC-2023-00169-COM. It's being deleted from the agenda. Sorry,
Yeah,
they're
missing.
missing. They're on the agenda, they're just not.
Yeah, we didn't get the package, okay.
We didn't get them. So, and then the last one is REC-2023-00293-COM. And that concludes the ones to be, that were not there.
So I move that we approve the corrected agenda.
Second.
I'll go ahead and take roll. Thank you, Madam President. President DeLee-Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Hedinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez. Yes. Madam President, the March 17th, 2025 agenda has been adopted as amended.
Thank you. We will now move to approval of minutes in your electronic binders, the draft of the November 18th, 2024, December 5th, 2024, and January 15th, 2025 commission meeting minutes. I have reviewed the minutes and move that they be approved. Is there a second?
Second.
There was a correction.
Oh.
The November, I wasn't here virtually. I was here in person, so that needs to be corrected.
Okay. So approve the November minutes to show that Commissioner Katnack was present.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Katnack. I'll go ahead and take roll. President DeLee-Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Hedinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez. Point of clarification, I can vote on November 18th and January 15th, but I was not.
Okay.
If I could split my vote for yes for November 18th, January 15th, abstain. Very well. Madam President, the November 18th and December 5th meeting minutes were approved by the quorum, and the January 15th as well, with Commissioner Vasquez being abstained. Is that correct? December 5th correction. So Madam President, the November 18th and January 13th, 2025 minutes have been approved by the quorum, and as well as December 5th, 2024, of which Commissioner Vasquez has been abstained.
Thank you. My president's report. On February 11th, I met with at the governor's office. The meeting was fruitful and informative, providing valuable insights into the administration's stance on key matters. I'm hoping to continue the dialogue, which will be essential for ensuring that the commission's priorities are recognized at the state level. I've been having engagement with Arello members and regulatory comparisons. It's been an interesting, short but very thorough look into other states' practices regarding regulatory environments, investigator assignments, and exclusivity. I've gotten some very interesting data from how other states handle their commissions and their investigations. Understanding how other jurisdictions structure their enforcement processes, I think, will help us identify potential improvements to our investigative model. Additionally, as part of these discussions, I've been observing how other jurisdictions handle their recovery fund, their consumer fund budgets, which, as you know, we don't know where ours is at the moment. This insight will help us evaluate whether our current fund structure and disbursement process align with the best practices. It does concern me that the real estate recovery fund is not accounted for at the present time. Other states have various amounts of real estate recovery funds, and ours is blank when we look at the Arello site. So that's an interesting thing that I want to cover at some point with the Arello people. Investigator and enforcement considerations, the issue of dedicated investigators remains a priority. While we understand the broader RLD staffing model, we must ensure that real estate investigations receive the focus and expertise required to uphold public trust and industry integrity. Addressing licensing obstacles and public protection, we remain committed to streamlining licensing process for ease of use while ensuring consumer protection. This means reducing unnecessary barriers for applicants while also ensuring that unlicensed individuals do not engage in real estate practice. This balance is critical for both industry efficiency and public safety. Commissioner Hennig and I have been working on updates to licensing forms to make renewals and applications more user-friendly. These changes are aimed at reducing confusion and improving efficiency. We will be requesting an update from RLD on the status of uploading and implementing new forms as they get tested in the field. Budget and financial transparency remains a concern, but we have still not received a formal budget update in several years. If you look at the old agendas, even back to 2018, 2019, 2020, and moving forward, and its appropriate administration. We continue to assess whether our existing rules and licensing structures serve the best interest of the industry. And as part of this, we're reviewing qualifying broker requirements to ensure they reflect industry needs, evaluating potential adjustments to licensing exams to strike the right balance between accessibility and competency, monitoring the impact of past rule changes and gathering feedback from stakeholders. As we move forward with various regulatory improvements, it's important to ensure that licensees are well informed and have access to clear guidance. I want to explore ways to enhance communication efforts, including providing more direct updates on rule changes, improving transparency around commission decisions, offering clearer explanations for applicants, and renewing licensees. I look forward to discussing these matters with RLD. Executive Secretary's report. Pamela Predica, am I saying your name right? Predica and Jared Bryant.
Good morning, Madam President. Thank you. So as team manager, I've been acting in the stead of a board administrator for the regulation licensing department with the real estate commission. And now that we have Pamela Predica here, she'll be taking over that stead. And all things to be addressed will be going through. She's one of our new employees.
Okay. Education Advisory Committee, Mr. Latham.
Good morning. At this time, we would like to ask for approval of the February 5th, 2025 and March 5th, 2025 EAC minutes. There is one change to the February minutes. There was a one-time course presented by GAR for unlocking real estate potential, rehab, fix, and flip, DSCR loans, and multi-unit investing. One of the presenters, Jacinda Juarez, will not be able to make it, and they are asking to replace her with Steve Secco, who has the same experience and knowledge in that field.
Okay. I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Go ahead and take roll. President Lee Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez. Yes. Madam President, the February 5th, 2025 and March 5th, 2025 EAC meeting minutes are approved.
Thank you. Rules Committee report. We're still working on them. I would like to ask for some assistance from RLD. I know when Mr. Cidio was running our programs, he assisted a lot in the rules change process. And we definitely need assistance from somebody who does have experience in that process. We're gathering the materials that we're going to need for redlining, but there's further instruction moving forward on the rules process. So I'd like to talk to RLD at some point about getting more assistance, backup, somebody who is familiar with the rules change process that can move this along. We've even collected more ideas on rules changes as time has gone by, so they're going to be more updated than we thought. So, and then the complaint committee reports. We are announcing that Commissioner Smith put in his resignation. We certainly really appreciate his service, and we're hoping we can get a replacement as the governor wishes. We appreciate his service and want to thank him for that. Compliance report.
Again, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I provided a compliance report within your packet, and at this point, I would like to review the case numbers that we have. So right now, we have a total of 158 complaints open. 7 of those are ready to be reviewed by the complaint committee if that's how the commission chooses to move forward. 13 will be discussed today during executive session. 2 are pending at the Attorney General's office. And 11 of them are pending compliance with either a final order or a settlement agreement. And that's all that I have to report.
Do you have just out of curiosity, a breakdown of the tone of those complaints? Are they licensing complaints? Are they property management misrepresentation? What do you think?
It's a variety of all of them.
Is there any majority?
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to answer that. I would have to go back and do a review of all the cases.
Okay. Investigators report. Is that you? Okay. That was it? All right. We're moving now to old business. Again, this is the list of everything that was voted on and approved at the last meeting. And to my knowledge, none of this has been done, or at least communicated to me if it has been. So the budget request, we requested to have reports provided quarterly, and we haven't had anything like that. A request for a new position of an administrative law judge. we did vote on that to have administrative law judges be hearing officers instead of commissioners. Was anything discussed about that?
I know there was a discussion amongst the Attorney General's office and our executive staff. However, I haven't been provided with an update as of yet.
The line item budget requests for office inspections.
I believe that was going to be addressed under agenda item F. But if you would like to discuss it now, I can explain what we've done so far.
Okay, let's do that.
So we have generated reports to identify which establishments need to be inspected. And we've generated reports, but pursuant to 1661-24-8, it says that the commission should operate under a property management best practices advisory committee. So I believe that was up for discussion, but we are prepared to move forward.
Okay. Regarding office inspections, what's your intention on what those are going to look like?
For right now, until we determine if it's working appropriately, we're preparing to do desk audits at the moment of all current property management companies. So that's what our idea is, with hopes that with this advisory committee, they can advise if that's the appropriate way to proceed.
And what about other violations like advertising violations?
That would be included in the audit. We would request photos of signage and all of the other requirements.
So who would be doing office inspections?
Right now, we're planning on utilizing Santa Fe investigators to assist in this until we get caught up with the caseload that we have for real estate
And
commission.
would they be on like a scheduling system?
Yes.
The rule book to go on the website? I feel like it's Groundhog Day.
Madam President, if I may,
Yes.
I just spoke with Deputy Director Amanda Lewis about this previous and just again now. So the PDF is actually posted on the website. However, there was some other requirements you were asking about which are still under review. I'm not clear on exactly which part of that, but
So it is on the website now.
the PDF is, yes. So as far as the rule book, but the manual itself, I believe there were some other requests that the board commission made that are still under review by the director. So it's in process. The PDF is up on the website.
But the PDF is up, but the other requests, like the commissioner information maybe on the book?
Madam President, members of the commission, I believe that there had been a request for like a manual. There was something more than a rule book that the commission was asking to be published on the website. That's what's under review. The PDF rule book is available for public viewing.
Okay. Where is it located? Is it on like the main page?
The rules and laws tab, where you would find the rules and laws.
Okay. Good. That's nice. So, like I said, Commissioner Hennigan and I are working on forms. And she's been very expeditious in getting some samples together. What I would like to do is, before they're actually put into play, discuss with RLD how that's going to look on the website. I'm assuming it's not going to be a big problem to add different forms. I know that you want singularity across all the boards, but it's been causing a train wreck with the universal form. And so we're trying to make it a lot more understandable. When somebody wants to renew, it should say renew. When it says transfer, it should say transfer. So some methodology I would like to discuss, and perhaps at a special meeting where we could come to a plan for implementing those new forms. and at least testing them out with the licensing staff. I'd like to be able to send those samples to the licensing staff who use these every day to say, you might want to tweak this, you might want to do that in order to get them usable. I think the licensing staff would work a lot less hours, tedious corrections, if they had better forms to work with. That's just the feedback I'm getting. RLD staff updates, that was one of the, I would love to be able to hear, or any of us, to hear when there are updates to staff, because I never know who I'm supposed to send an email to about a certain particular problem or question or something like that. I think it would be really useful, so that's another thing that was on the old business. And the idea about licensing screening, I know that the Real Estate Commission has never had a close, cohesive plan between realtor associations and licensing, but it is important. I have some ideas about how we could get information transferred to associations, maybe a public alert, or when a license is revoked, suspended, the qualifying broker is going to get that information. Maybe another additional statement in that notification, please contact the appropriate associations. And I know this one's the biggest one, so it's more onerous. Some associations are, the size of this room. So, but I think there needs to be another thing. So if we could discuss that perhaps at another time. I don't know if anybody else has any comments about these unfinished business.
Well, I would just, Madam President, I would like to just speak to the forms. I've gotten numerous calls and complaints, and people are confused, and they don't know the direction to take, and then they feel like time's wasting. They want to conduct business, they want to have their office, and in one particular case, I know for a fact that person was delayed for several months, and that shouldn't happen. And so that's why I've really been working hard on simplifying the forms, making them specific to what the action is that the person wants and needs, and then see if we can't move forward for the members and for the licensees. I too would like some of these things done. I've been working towards I've been talking about rules and making sure that things are up to date for several years.
Okay. And I'm not sure that these are, we could just all agree or not that these were not really implemented or informed, but I just wanted to bring it up in old business that we need to just keep on this list that was produced before. Yes?
Madam President,
Yes.
Secretary Hettinga, I hear the urgency for the forms to be cleaned up. It will take RLD staff same day to post them on the website. As soon as you all want to present the forms to staff for testing, we'll be happy to look at testing and then get them on the website. I hear the urgency. We just need the forms.
Perfect, thank you. We can discuss later what kind of format to send them to you in. We'll leave that up to you, but we can send Word docs or PDFs, whatever works. But yeah, first I'd like to test them with licensing staff. Again, microphone issues for those in the audience. So if you are speaking, make sure you're, because these are really loud now, but the microphones out here, the people attending can't hear. E is the universal form and project completion deadline. There you go. So I'm assuming that Commissioner Hedigan and I could probably have some forms within the next 30 days to licensing staff for testing. And then assuming their time constraints, they could work with us fairly quickly to get those adjusted appropriately. Yeah, let's discuss F, property management best practices, because that is a statutory requirement that we have that, and it did exist at one time. So what does that look like for implementation?
I believe at this time, the commission would just need to appoint somebody to the committee, and then we would work with that person directly to ensure like our letters are correct and how we're moving forward with the process. So it would be a commission member.
Okay. We can do that. The next item, which was discussed and voted on but not implemented, is the public awareness program. And I know we had one public awareness flip that came out on social media, and it's similar to all the others I see that RLD does for contractors and warnings to the public. And there was one that came out, and then that was the last one we saw. Is there any implementation of that for the real estate commission?
President and commissioners, it's my understanding if there's information the commission would like to be presented, that information could come to RLD to push out through our PIO and our public information page. Generally, unless it's like continuing education reminder, renewal reminder, that would be handled internally. If there's something you guys would like to push out, please send it. We will look at it for review. And
So
get
I'm
it out.
assuming there's a marketing group that does those template things that I'm seeing that we could send, that we could give a suggestion to, and it could be produced in the same manner.
That's correct. We do have staff who works on our website. They can put together a notice, and if you're talking about the formatting or the bells and whistles that
Yeah,
come with
just
it,
the idea.
absolutely, it's the information that we'll need from the commission to then turn out and push out to the public.
Good, okay. We'll do that. Do you have any questions about that? No? Okay. New business. Presidential authority to approve EAC recommendations after review rather than waiting for discussion in a public meeting. Things happen a lot faster today, and I hate to see things at the EAC that need to be implemented have to wait the 60-day cycle for approval. And it was suggested that perhaps the president could meet with the EAC and look at what they had discussed, classes, instructors, recommendations, and the president could approve it at that time unless they felt that they weren't capable or didn't have enough information, and then it could be brought to the next commission meeting, the next public meeting. So I'm open for discussion on that idea.
I don't think that I have a problem with that. If it's something that, especially if it's a renewal of an instructor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would move that be approved.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it should be held up if it's necessary in order for somebody to be able to is it like a teacher recertification and that type of stuff? I think.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we allow the president to approve EAC recommendations unless it needs to be forwarded to the commission.
Second.
Before we take roll call, my question, this is mostly for DOJ attorney representation. It is my understanding that one member does not have authority to approve, but can make a recommendation and be ratified at the next commission meeting. If I'm incorrect, please just let me know.
That's usually correct. I might need a minute to, or I might want to, I think maybe we should defer this. I might need to research exactly the structure of the committee and everything. Basically because, all right, here we go. We want to make sure that it's all in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. So I have to check on how it's structured and how the committee works. And then I could communicate with the chair about that. And we could hopefully figure that out soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm open for that.
Madam President, one more comment. While we're on the lines of potentially reviewing a process for EAC recommendations to alleviate time that we're holding up an application or approval, I would request that the commission also review or think about an application review committee. There are times an application may come in, perhaps has discipline from another state or something that the commission would need to look at and give some sort of opinion to staff so we understand to move forward or hold up the application and bring it to the meeting. Perhaps next meeting agenda, if we get a few special meetings, then we can look at maybe committee appointments. I would like to throw an application committee member in there as well.
That's well taken. Yeah, so in the alternative of presidential review, maybe we could just schedule special meetings for approval for EAC issues, because those I'm imagining that the meeting wouldn't take very long. So that's a possibility, as well as your suggestion.
Madam President, lastly, I don't know with budget issues, I don't know if we would run into budget issues having a special meeting every single time, but generally how our other commissions and boards meet is there is a subcommittee of the board or commission that reviews and makes a recommendation to issue the license, to approve, whatever it may be, and that decision is ratified at the next board meeting or commission meeting. So we wouldn't necessarily have to have a special meeting each time.
Okay. Well, the special meeting would cut to the chase on the EAC questions, which those need to be decided. That's the point of this whole idea, is so that classes can be approved quicker, instructors can be approved quicker. So that category, I think, could be covered with special meetings or presidential approval. So we'll leave it to the attorney to tell us about that. Not on the spot or anything. So your point is taken. Thank you. Another budget request, of course, we don't know what our budget is, but implementation of a core course instructor for boot camp. So that's a budget request that we'd like to have voted on and approved. I move that we approve a budget request for a boot camp instructor.
Second.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll go ahead and take roll. President Lee Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninger,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carries.
Thank you. Ongoing concerns with the one-stop phone number. It's not working. It's probably working for the people on the other side of the number, but the people calling need somebody to be able to call and ask quick questions. These are not attorney questions. They're simple licensing, procedural, who do I talk to? Point me to the rule that might apply to this, this, and this. Those are not questions that have to have an attorney to answer the question for. It seems like a lot of these questions could be answered by staff who probably know better than anybody where to point somebody to. If it's licensing, I get questions. I'm not afraid to answer the questions. So I think we need to really get past this one-stop phone number, and that's because I just don't think that it's efficient. I don't think it doesn't make the commission look good when we're so unattainable and we can't give answers out. So I would like to see some kind of approval that staff could actually answer questions if they're qualified to answer them. It's happened before.
Madam President, members of the commission, the one phone number is not answered by attorneys. The questions that come in are generally licensing
Oh, sure.
questions. They're not
Yeah.
specific for attorneys, so staff does answer. I would remind the commission that there's online appointments, a telephone number, and a
Right.
board email
Yeah.
in which your constituents can communicate should they be confused with the rules. It is my understanding from Director Salazar that in order to track the calls coming in, the reasons for the call, we are sticking to the call center approach. I taking note and will definitely relay the commission's concern. I know this isn't the first time we've heard it, and I will reiterate the commission's wish to go back to having individual telephone numbers for real estate commission staff.
Yeah, and by attorney, I didn't mean that when you called, you got to talk to an attorney. It's the advice that constituents have been told that if you have a question, call an attorney, which is crazy. No disrespect to the attorneys in the room, but it would be a ridiculous thing to call an attorney who gets paid by the hour a simple statute question. Statutes are very difficult to read for the layman. They usually have to be translated into plain, walking around person kind of language. And that's really all people are sometimes looking for. Or if I've had a complaint filed, what's my next step? Like how not to panic in 20 seconds. Those kind of questions do not need to be asked of a skilled attorney who's going to start the clock. So we've been told by Attorney Graham that all those questions need to be asked of an attorney. And so that's what I meant, that constituents are being told, we can't answer that question, you got to call an attorney. And it's like, come on, there's not enough attorneys in the world to answer all those questions affordably. So that's what I mean. And sometimes that one-stop phone number, what I've been hearing, the call center appointment, that appointment is scheduled long after that licensee's license has been triggered for expiration. So they're not getting answered very quickly. So that's the one-stop phone number that I'm talking about that's become inefficient.
Madam President, members of the commission, understood. I will relay that information. To clarify, boards and commission staff will not interpret law or provide legal guidance to anybody who calls in. That is what Chief General Counsel Graham was referring to. If a constituent calls in is seeking interpretation of a law, and that is what RLD staff will not provide legal interpretation for.
Okay.
I have a quick question, just for simplicity purposes, because there are other phone calls that will be as simple as, when does a license expire, or when does, what kind of process is that looking like? How long do you guys take to return that phone call to answer those simple questions, that type of stuff? What's that look like?
Commissioner, Madam President, Commissioners, when a constituent calls in and they have a question as simple as, where do I mail this document to? What is the expiration date? Staff is prepared to answer those quick questions. It is when the question gets further into detail, such as specific exam requirements, sometimes supervision hours, things that the front call center staff may not be equipped to answer for all boards. That's when staff will do two things: assist them in making the appointment for staff, the constituent, or direct them to the website so they can see where to make an appointment themselves should they continue to have questions.
So in order for them to get the answer, they have to make an appointment, or they'll be able to get the answer on that phone call?
So to clarify again, if it's
Yeah.
an easy question,
Yeah.
when does my license expire, which is also
Yep.
available for public search, you can see when your license expires, and staff will walk them through that, how to look up their license, give them the date, or make an appointment if the question gets further into detail. So it could go either way.
Just curious because I've heard a couple of different conflicting responses. And so people have called and have claimed they have to make an appointment for those type of simple questions. And so again, that's kind of a concern because people don't necessarily feel like they should make an appointment. They should be able to call somebody and be able to get guided. So again, it just for clarification.
Thank you. I think our hope, Madam President and Commission members, is to continue to spread education on our website. There's a lot of self-help for the licensee within their portal to get a printed copy of their license, look at the expiration, find continuing education requirements in a self-help manner versus needing to call someone to get that guidance. So we're working really hard to spread that education to help the licensees understand how they can help themselves as well.
I think part of the problem is the website.
Yes.
It is not a very user-friendly place to go. I constantly get questions about, I can't find what I'm looking for. And it's very difficult. And I would agree with Commissioner Katnick that I've also gotten calls of people saying, they won't answer my call. I only have to call this call center. I have to wait weeks for it to ask one question. Some of them I've heard that even go in person and say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. Well, that's not acceptable, in my opinion. Thank you.
And I agree about the user-friendly as far as the website. It's not as user-friendly. I don't know what can be changed, but there has been a continuous conversation about how unuser-friendly it is. People can't go online to be able to easily access things. So,
Well, it's not really a website. I mean, it's pages in a big website. So it's not, it doesn't operate independently for a lot of content. I think that's from a technical point of view, that's probably the problem, because it's just merely pages within a vast website, which is different than if you have a solid platform that's dedicated to one purpose. Can I go back to B1? So while everybody was chatting, I looked at the PDF rulebook. Have you looked at it? This isn't the PDF rulebook that we were trying to get approved to put online that's user-friendly, that speaks to statutes in common language and actually gives citations of past cases and examples. This, and I didn't wear my glasses today, but this is not, that's not what we were talking about. So I would invite the commissioners to look. It's not the rule book we were discussing to put up there that's usable. Yeah.
Madam President, that's correct. I think what we were trying to reiterate is I understood there was a version that the commission had submitted to be reviewed and approved. That has not been reviewed and approved for the website, but we did put a PDF version of just the rules on the website. Understanding the manual is what we were referring to.
Right.
Of what you all had submitted, that was not what was placed on the website.
So, and I appreciate that you're wanting to review it and approve it, but it's been used before, and definitely no rule changes have taken place since it was used before. Commissioner names have changed. What else is the content they object to? Somebody objects to the content?
I am not positive what the reason for the not approval, but I absolutely will get that answer. So whether it's changing a little bit of the content, I'm not sure. But what the answer is, I will absolutely get that back to you for feedback.
Okay. Yeah, because this is not what we're looking at. Okay. So as an action item, I would like to make a motion that RLD allow staff in an official capacity, allow staff to answer questions that they're capable of answering when they're available to answer, such as licensing or general information.
Second.
I'll take roll. President Lee-Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Hedinga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carries.
Thank you. The next on the agenda is the complaint committee discussion. I remember when the complaint committee was formed as a member of one, and it was done with the express purpose of being experimental, if you will. We had never had it before. We weren't sure of the purpose of it before. And I'd like to say, at least until we get a fifth commissioner, that it be not reinstated until we do. And my reasoning is that if you've got 4 commissioners, one of them is a complaint committee, that person gets unredacted information, might have to be recused on a decision, that's a really close number. That was my main concern about a complaint committee to begin with, was unredacted information, privileged information, which could at some point be construed by council that they were not neutral enough in their decisions. So I would make a motion to table the complaint committee for now until such time that it come up again as a need.
I guess my question with that, because we have so many cases that are on backlog, and what would that look like? You're saying that staff would just proceed with them and then just present them to us at executive session, and that's where we would rely on it at that time to discuss?
Just like it was before, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the complaint committee should or was intended to be a replacement for a formal investigator, just because they have real estate knowledge. And I think when we had real estate trained investigators, it was only to filter through those that, as with recommendations maybe that weren't in our jurisdiction, or just needed to be kind of put in a stack of this is an easy one kind of thing. But without trained investigators and 4 commissioners, that complaint committee person cannot be made as a replacement for an investigator. That's not why we're here.
No, but I guess my question is, as far as relying on heavily on the investigators to make a final type of a decision, and us having to revisit all of them when we're going into executive session.
It's the way it's always been.
I understand.
Yeah.
I guess it was just more of an alleviation of the process. So I guess if that's what you want to do.
Well, I just think it's a huge burden on an appointed individual who's not a state employee and trained to be an investigator to turn into the real estate expert.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big burden, and I think Mr. Smith did a fine job when he could, but it was a burden on his time as well, and his expertise, and I'm worried about the consequences of having unredacted information with somebody that might also have to be voting on a case.
Madam President, I would agree with you. I think at this point, we went for years without a person in that position, and it was kind of, I'm sorry, we went for years without a person in the compliance committee, as a compliance committee of one. And when I remember that it was something that we said, let's try this, and it wasn't. So I don't think that it's necessary that we have that person in order to move forward with these cases. The investigators in the past presented us with the information, and it's up to us to determine if the facts that are presented are true, how do we proceed? And so I feel that that was a nice benefit when Mr. Smith was able to do it, but I don't think that it's necessary.
I kind of really remember actually with the previous investigators, it didn't reduce the amount of reading I had to do on the weekend before a meeting. And I'm not too sure that it really shortened our executive sessions very much because we still had questions. So I'm not too sure what the benefit to the process was from our point of view. So I would like to move that it be tabled, disbanded until further notice.
Clarification, this is a temporary, you mentioned until we get a fifth member reappointed. Would this be a temporary suspension of the committee or just suspend it permanently until we revisit the whole issue and discuss it?
I would say suspend it until we revisit the whole issue as needed. Do I hear a second?
Second?
I'll take roll. President Lee Gilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carries to suspend the complaint committee until further notice.
Number 5, RLD liaison. It was brought to my attention that it might be a good idea to revisit one of us meeting with RLD to kind of get updates, communication updates, like who's the new staff, who's doing what are the processes in place. There was a time that I was meeting with General Counsel Graham and Melissa Salazar as she was available, and it was fairly helpful. I didn't mind doing it. It sometimes was a half hour, 45-minute video meeting. I'd be glad to do that again so that we could get updates as things happen. I think once a month would be sufficient, even on a month before or after a meeting, just to discuss not private matters, obviously, but just procedural things going on in the office. We don't get to see you, you know. You're in that building, and we're everywhere else. So I would volunteer to do that again for monthly meetings.
Also can do it. I mean, so if, either way, I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think there's a lot of oversight that needs to happen. And I think if we work collectively, I think we'll be able to get through it. But it's a matter of understanding what our boundaries are and how we can basically work off of that. So
So I would move, let's say, I would move that we create an RLD liaison monthly meeting. And if the president can't attend, president can appoint somebody to attend for them for the monthly update. And I think General Counsel Graham, he'll remember, because we had, I think, 3 or 4 meetings together. I think I had one in person, and then the rest were on video. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I'll take roll. President Lee Gilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carries.
Thank you.
And if I could add, excuse me, the discussions we've had with the Real Estate Commission previous to this agenda have actually clarified some future agenda items as they progress. So from the RLD's perspective, that has actually helped with preparing agendas.
Okay, good. Again, we're back to this appointment of a Property Management Advisory Committee. Let's move that to a continuing discussion, because I think we need to appoint somebody to be part of that committee, much like the Rules Committee. So that's going to be a tabled item that we'll just continue to work on, if that works for everybody.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, I'll take a roll. President Lee Kilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carries.
Thank you. In the matter of Aaron Romero, Associate Broker requesting extension on renewal, we had some materials for that.
Mr. Romero here? Aaron Romero? He's not making himself known, and I don't see him present, Madam President.
Based on the material that I saw, I don't see any reason why, I mean, to give him an extension. Did you see a reason why not to?
We have to discuss it.
Oh, well, I just didn't think so.
See him present. We will now move to public comment. The commission will now take public comments from attendees present in the meeting that would like to address the commission and those who have submitted a request to provide the public comment. Mr. Bryant, do we have public comment?
We have Emery Simpson. Is she present today? Emery Simpson? She had previously requested to speak to the board. I don't see her making herself known.
The technical detail, she can speak up. I think we have Mr. McCoy available. Oh, Bob Arguelles says she is present. Microphone issues, maybe?
Ms. Simpson, if you can stand by just real quick, we're having some technical issues. We should get you able to speak here in a moment.
There we go. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
A
Is there
little
way-
louder.
Let me scooch up a little bit. Madam President, members of the commission, I am Emery Simpson. I'm a realtor here in Las Cruces. I'm licensed in Arizona, and I'm also a commission-approved instructor. I had to go through an online national CE provider to get some of my CE completed this year. And I was going to speak on the outdated material that I experienced in the 4 classes that I took, but I wanted to switch it up and thank Madam President and Mr. Latham for your quick action in bringing this to the attention of the provider. And I hope that they will review all of the classes provided to New Mexico licensees. Beyond this outdated material issue is this: the ability to spend minimal time in a course and be able to take the final exam. For example, I was able to take the ethics course in 1 hour and then proceed immediately to the final exam. When I'm taking my Arizona CE, the timer states I have to be in the class. It's required for 2 hours and 30 minutes, while the New Mexico timer says 3 hours and 20 minutes recommended. Again, I did not have to spend 4 hours in the class. I could get it done in an hour. So I would absolutely urge the commission to discuss this technical glitch, whatever we want to call it, with this online provider to fix the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCoy, public.
Thank you. I had not intended to speak this morning, so here's the shortest version possible. I am embarrassed for the Real Estate Commission, and I am embarrassed by RLD's response to reasonable requests to enforce our licensing statute. What else can I say? Nothing else seems to move. I'm embarrassed.
Is anyone else wanting to speak today? It's now time for the commission to move to closed session for the purpose of discussing the disciplinary matters listed on the agenda. All brokers attending for continuing education credit may log off. You will not receive credit for closed session portions. Secretary Hennigan.
I move the Real Estate Commission enter closed session to discuss the items listed on the agenda as authorized by the Licensing and Administrative Adjudication exemption of the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 10-15-1, H, 1, 3, and 7, authorizing closed session for matters related to issuance, suspension, renewal, or revocation of a license. Do I have a second?
Second.
President Lee Gilman,
Yes.
Secretary Henninger,
Yes.
Commissioner Katnack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion to enter closed session carries.
Let the record show the commission entered into closed session at 10:15 a.m. We are off the record. Mr. Bryant, please stop the recording.